Hey, what's up? My name is Taclys, and today we're going to be doing a requested tutorial on how to do starting and ending screens for a game. So most Project Spark games, mine included usually, they just throw you into the game. You load up the game and the game begins. But if you notice, most AAA games, or really any game that you buy, they have a start screen. You load up the game and then you can press start, you can go to the options, you can change your game mode in some games, you can look at credits, you can look at extras, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be showing you how to do that, and a very simple game over screen. So let's get into it. I will show you what it does, and then I will delete it all and do it again. Now I've built a little fetch quest game around this. It's unimportant. I'm not going to show you how to code it, but I'm showing you how to do the screen. So here is the start screen. This is pretty simple. We have start screen, objectives, and credits. So for objectives, it shows me your spacecraft has crashed in Palindrome Valley. Find the missing power core to escape. So there's our spaceship. If I press B, I go back, go to credits. Taclys made this awesome tutorial, so go make your own awesome game. And that is a command. Everyone needs to go make an awesome game. Alright, so we can go back to start game and start it. Character spawns, and we begin. Now, this game is very simple. You just have to go find the power core. Mostly I wanted to show off how awesome this world is that I've been making. You may recognize this from my April Fool's joke. The April Fool's joke is removed. This is a very serious, not very serious, a serious, very pretty environment that I have spent a lot of time in, and I like quite a bit. No game here yet, just a cool environment that I work with. So here's the power core. Let's take it. Run back to our ship. Put the power core in, and we will be done. Pretty simple game. To have the end screen, you need to have some sort of definite end command to your mission, game, whatever. So when you hit a certain Boolean variable, when you hit a numeric variable, that's when the game actually ends. Alright, so missing power cell shows me a holograph of it there. Can place it, and then we have liftoff, which I think looks pretty cool. And game over. So let's get into how to do that. Now I have split the start and end brains up into their own logic cubes. Oh, looks like my controller batteries are low. That'll be fine for this tutorial. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete both of the brains. I'm going to place a logic cube where I want my player to spawn, about right here, and another logic cube just over here for whatever reason. I have also placed a camera right here. Not only, well, it mainly, this is what the start screen is going to be looking at. Alright, so what we're going to do, oh, and your player. If you have your player added into the world, normally, you need to go to the properties, brain, and turn template to true. It'll make your character kind of purpley, and they won't exist in the world until you create them to. I still think that the template feature is one of the best features in Project Spark. So first, we're going to do once Boolean variable called start menu. We're going to have start menu equals true. Then when start menu is equal to true, now we're going to have quite a bit of code. And I really did debate whether I should make this an intermediate tutorial or an expert tutorial, and I decided to go with intermediate, but this can be expanded a lot. You can add a lot more options. You can add even submenus inside of menus. So first, let's have our commands. I decided to go with an intermediate tutorial because I do it fairly simply. So yeah, when D-pad up or left stick up direction, just copy and paste that. Gonna make a child line of code. Started to make a Boolean or a numeric variable called selector. Decrement by 1. Now we just copy paste this and D-pad down direction, left stick down direction, increment by 1. There we go. That's the controls. This way you can either use your D-pad or you can use your left stick. Now, what I'm going to do to make sure I stay within this start menu child line of code, I'm going to create a line of code here and then drag it down just to make sure that it's where it needs to be. So, when selector is equal to 0. This is where we're going to do our display text. Now, I've done menus in other tutorials before. Oh, wait, hang on. Before we do this, I forgot to do something. We have to create another line of code, make this a child line of code, and this when new variable called start menu. When start menu is equal to 0, which it will default to. Alright, I will get back to why we added this here in a minute. So, display, and we need to, let's see, for our first button we're going to have start game. We're going to position this at left screen center. We're going to make this large. We are going to make this blue, so we know we're selected on it. And we need to make the priority. Since we're only having 3 buttons, you really only need to have 3 or 4 priorities. I'm going to go with 4 just to be safe in case you decide to expand. So, there we go. And then when selector is not equal to 0, this should be white. Simple as that. Now we copy and paste that line, the first line, so when selector is equal to 1, instead of start game, we need to do, let's see, objective. Objective in blue, priority 3. Copy and paste that. When not equal to 1, make this white. A little bit repetitive, but so goes coding. Copy and paste that line again. When it equals to 2, we're going to have credits. In blue, priority 2. There we go. And this is just a fun fact. Your priorities can have decimal points in them. So let's say that you have a menu of 20 items and you want to add an item in the middle. You can have a priority of 3.5, and it would sit between 3 and 4. Just random tidbit of information. When not equal to true, blue should be white. Alright, so we got the basics of it down. Now we need to add the controls. So, make a child line of code for when it's equal to 0 and when A released. Now, I've only been using this technique recently where I use released on menus, but I'm finding it works really well. A problem I have with menus is that you press A to go from one menu to the next, or to advance from quest point 1 to quest point 2 or whatever. You press A, it goes to the next point, and then it recognizes you're still pressing A and activates the next point, so you can skip through multiple sections on one A press as opposed to one per menu. When you do released, that negates the problem. So, since this is the start game one, what we're going to do is once create, and let's grab our player template, create player at position center. There we go. And then start menu equals false. There we go. That's pretty simple. Now let's say we decide that we want to have a different menu for to display this objective. So what we're going to do is when A released, this is going to actually switch our start menu to 1. Alright, so then as you can see we have start menu 0 here, but we're also going to have start, or when it equals to 1. Now I'm going to move this below it, make child line of code here. Gonna have no, not a oh, my bad, didn't mean to exit out all the way. This world takes a very, very, very long time to save because I've pretty much maxed out the terrain voxels already. Let's go back into its brain. Scroll back down. It's always frustrating when I do that. Rather than display, I'm going to do say, just so it has a nice controlled text box. For our objective, you crash landed your spaceship in the Paladrone Valley. Go find the missing power core to escape. There we go. Now, because this say text box defaults with the little, I don't know what you call it, the tail on it, we're going to change the text box so it just is a sci-fi message, and we're going to put the position to screen center left, font size to large. Then, when B released, because intuitively everyone knows the B button is the back button. Start menu is equal to 0. This will take us right back to the previous page. Now, it will take us back to the previous page with the selector still selected on the objective. If you wanted to change that so it starts higher up the menu, then you could do selector equals 0. Started to, just for good measure. That way, when you go back, it would take you back to the top of the menu. So, I'll leave it like this for now. We're gonna go back up to our first menu, copy and paste our A released, go down to selector 2, paste that on credits, and now we're going to go to start menu number 2. Really, start menu number 2 is going to be pretty much exactly like start menu number 1, so we can copy and paste that, change it to start menu 2, and this time we're going to remove the selector so that you can see how it works both ways, and instead of an objective, go make your own, or make an awesome world. There we go. So, that's pretty much the menu. Let's add a few cosmetic things. Here at the very top, we are going to have our camera, a first-person camera that is this camera object that I placed earlier right here. And we're going to have it without controls. We also want depth of field because depth of field looks nice. And let's add a big title screen at the top, or title at the top. So display, let's do something dramatic. Escape from Paladrone Valley. Now, in case you're wondering, the reason I'm using Paladrone is Paladrone was the name I came up with for my very first Project Spark world. And despite the fact that I didn't know a darn thing about variables or interaction code or anything, I made an awesome world. At least I thought so. It was an open world. It had secrets. If you got enough coins, it would like level you up and unlock secret areas. And there was a quest. And that world, fooling around in that open world for a long time, really helped me self-educate to what I wanted to do. So the Paladrone game that I made is pretty important to me, even if it is a bit of a terrible game if I was to go back on it now. But it is important to me, so I don't even think I have it published anymore. It's kind of a terrible game. Nobody played it, but I did put a lot of work into it. There's a lot of cool bosses and whatnot. Cool. Nearly impossible is how I should put it. Alright, so I think our start menu is done. It's looking pretty good. 28 lines of code for that. Probably felt like more than that, but 28 lines of code is no big deal. Alright, so we have our start menu done. And I will say the end game menu, I am going to do some unnecessary cosmetics. That will take longer than necessary, but it looks cool. Now I have made my my rocket here one big item. It's got an effect that only powers on when the end game turns on. This is all pre-prepped. These objects here, like this ramp, it will oh wait, no, these don't destroy themselves. I have to destroy them in the end screen. But the main core of this mini game that I've made is in the power core receiver thing here. Here's the code for that. Pretty much when you interact with it, the core becomes visible and endgame equals true. This is the line of code that's important. You need to make a global variable called endgame. So, however it is in the game, endgame equals true. So, once you have that built into your mini game, your big game, your overall quest, whatever, let's go to this block of this logic cube. Now first I'm going to run through what's necessary, and then I'm going to go through what's not necessary. So when global endgame is equal to true, now I don't want the game to instantly end because I have it currently configured. It would instantly end. So I'm going to do a countdown timer of 2 seconds. Then we're going to do a countdown timer of 5 seconds because during this countdown timer there's going to be other cosmetic stuff going on. We are going to let's see, no, that's under appearance. Going to fade transition time of 1 second, and this will fade the whole screen to black in 1 second. Then we're going to also have another countdown timer for 2 seconds. And then we're going to display the text game over. Now you can put whatever you want there. Congratulations, thanks for playing. You suck at this game because you lost and you died, and that's what triggered the end game. You know, whatever works for you. So display game over in the center. A very large font style. And if this is a positive game over, like, yay, you completed the game, good job, then I'd leave it white. If it's a negative game over, like you died, you lost all your lives, you failed the objective, then I'd say make the text red. But they've completed the game here. They've done a good job, so they get good text. So that's pretty much it. Then we can do another countdown timer for let's do 5 seconds, and we will do the proper. Oh, where is it? There is a proper. Here we go. Game over. Yeah. When this happens, it kicks the player out of the game, and they can either go right your game if you're playing it, or they go back to edit mode. So, this is the fundamentals for how the game over screen works. Now let's add the unnecessary polish that I usually do to make things look good. So after 2 seconds, what we're going to do, let's see if I can remember how I did all this right. The rocket is going to move upward with flying, move with flying in direction world up. There we go. Now I'm gonna throw this in for good measure. Glued object. Let's make it rotate. Which one is it? Which one? Yaw? Yeah, this should make it rotate as it flies away. Hopefully. Should look cool. Haven't tested this feature out, but you know. Sometimes that can go really badly on glued objects because they're, you know, I'm going to remove that because it's a glued object and the axis won't be in the center, so it'll look like it's spiraling and not spinning. Okay. Next, I have already had this code in place, but we're going to pick our camera. And I could have, well, I wanted to put all the code for the camera here in this logic cube, but instead I had to power on the camera so that it could do the code in its own brain. Because it turns out you can't make a separate object focus on a target, if that makes sense. So, we just turned the power on for this camera. It is worth mentioning, if you don't want to watch this, you've seen what's necessary for an endgame screen. This is just flourishes I'm adding to my world to make it look nicer. Which, if you've put time and effort into your game, put a flourish at the end of your game. It'll make the player feel appreciated. So, when this camera has power, it will, I'm just going to delete this. Start back over. When has power. It's going to be a first-person camera without controls. That should seem familiar. And it's also going to look at target our rocket, because our rocket's going to be taking off, so it's going to follow it as it flies into the distance. So that should be cool. Let's go back to our endgame brain. That's pretty much it, really. I thought I had more cosmetics than that. I probably did, and I'm just not including them for whatever reason. You know what? Let's put a letterbox in at this point too, so it looks like a cinematic. Cinematics are always nice. Oh yes, and we have to delete all the unnecessary objects. And like it or not, the player at this point is an unnecessary object. So destroy, and oh, let's see. This is where it gets fun. This is one of the reasons that templates are a little finicky to work with, because rather than being able to just select our template and destroy it, we have to go into our player and make them, let's see, global object variable player is equal to me. There we go. This way the game has something to grab onto after it's been spawned. So destroy global player, and also for good measure we're going to have to destroy a couple of things around here that look good. We're going to destroy the ramp, and we're going to destroy this. So that will make the whole set look like, I don't know, maybe time has passed and they're taking off finally. So I think pretty much everything is done. Let's try it out. It's always nerve-wracking when you spend 22 minutes on a tutorial without any tests, and then you actually start it and see how it does. So, escape from Palindrome Valley. We can either use left stick, or we can use D-pad. So we can go to Objective. You've crash landed your spaceship at Palindrome Valley. Press B, and you notice it takes me back to the start, or to the top of the menu. Or we can go to Credits, and we can read the credits, and it takes us right back to the credits button. It depends what you want to do. So let's start the game. There we go. So here's our player, and just so you know, if you want that handy dandy little transition, you have to go into your player and add a transition tile onto their camera. Man, I should have made my player walk faster, or sprint or something. But hey, we can appreciate all of these beautiful glowy blue plant alien thingies. I don't know. I thought they looked cool, so I made a big group of them. Grab the power core. It's worth mentioning, do you see these rocks? Do you see how they look pretty good? Pretty natural? What I did is I took a bunch of rocks, put them in the air, turned their physics to tumbling, dropped them, and then observed how they fell. And then placed them fixed in the world in a similar formation so it looked natural. So, kind of tedious, but I think the result was good. Alright, so we're bringing our core back to our rocket ship. Let's place the core, and in a couple of seconds, there we go. It takes off into the sunset. Screen goes black. Game over. And kicks us out back to editing. Yes! It all worked. Thank goodness. Alrighty, so hopefully that's what you guys were looking for. If you guys are interested in a very hard tutorial on how to make menus inside of menus inside of menus, like for example on that menu you wanted a settings menu. If you want a tutorial on how to do that, that is its own rather large affair. So leave a comment if you want that. I'm working on some other projects right now. I think the Conquer pack looks great. Comes out towards the end of the month. So yeah, I'll be picking that up and checking it out. So thanks you guys for watching. Hope this was helpful, and I will see you guys later.